Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, bienvenidos all. So good to be with you, which for me is on the Sunday afternoon. I'm Sandy Yannone, your host for today for Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. Today, we will be exploring the theme of refuge. It's our poet's focus today. Thanks to all of you who joined us last week for the wild card open mic. I happened to go into my analytics and I thought I'd share a little bit with you, as I kind of always do, that these readings get hundreds and hundreds of views after the fact. And if you read on the open mic last week, you've been viewed well over 500 times already in this past week. So it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. So all the more reason to share your work and realize that your reach is much further than just our live reading here on Zoom, and as well as live streaming over to our Facebook page for Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. Folks can be watching you in perpetuity for years to come. And as I said, we do get hundreds and hundreds of views of our readings from our membership, which is currently over 3,500 people on our Facebook group. So there's always folks who watch after the fact and enjoy that aspect. And we, of course, appreciate you being here today for the live open mic. Well, as I mentioned, I'm Sandy Yannone, and I'm your host for today. We will be featuring 12 of our members here in the Zoom room, reading up to 5 minutes apiece on the theme of refuge. And if there's time, we'll get to the waiting list, and I will keep my comments to a minimum today. One, because I got a little tickle in my throat, and two, that'll probably get us further along on the wait list. So first up today, I'd love to have us all give a grand welcome to first. I can't believe Dee Allen, you're first, which is fabulous to start off a reading with you. And then look everybody in the room, Dee Allen, yes. And we'll follow Dee Allen with Ron Bremner. Welcome to both of you.
Kim, I wonder if you can let me use the share screen feature, please.
Go ahead, Dee. It's all
Okay.
set.
Let me see if I can get these poems up and running. Two pieces for today's themed open mic on the subject of refuge. Refuge. There. I can't talk today. First one is called Expression. Naysayers need to be ignored, tuned out. Self-appointed judges hidden behind social media profiles are cyber waste for a reason. We live in a country that prides itself on freedom, and freedom is letting the woman you are inside take a walk outside among us. Honestly, there's nothing wrong with having your beauty lean toward a dark, otherworldly aesthetic. Tease black crown of hair, facial foundation like snowy northern winter, long black lashes above brown eyes flutter like moth's wings when blinking. Vampiric fangs show in your blackened plump lips smile. Black leather collar with leash ring on neck, rosaries and crucifix, companion pieces, Shiny black claws tip your fingers, lacy black dress, flowing sleeves, black leather conch belt with chains, torn fishnets, demonia platform boots. Your keys to contentment are worn. Dressing up normal would seem like donning a Halloween costume. The most liberated people live out their best lives, visiting cemeteries in the day, prowling shopping malls with friends, attending live concerts, or doing photo shoots. You're demonstrating liberty the US Constitution only mentions, and the slavish normal would envy. And freedom is letting the woman you are inside take a walk outside for keeps. And that first poem was called Expression for Mamie Hades, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram sensation. And that's an example of finding refuge in living out your best life, dressing the way you want to, decorating your own costume the way you want to, teasing your hair the way you want to. But still, the rest of this world gives us crap for it, but you have that freedom of expression to be you, always. And the last poem is deeply personal, also on the subject of refuge, or in this case, denial from refuge. This is called Subculture. I spent my entire young adult life in active search of myself. Racism made me leave the heavy metal scene. Backstabbing made me leave the punk scene. High school clique level immaturity made me leave the Circle A scene. Lack of a lover and peers of similar tastes made me shed Black Gothic threads in favor of colors. In my pursuit through the crowds, I found myself in pieces, went from metalhead to punk to goth and anarchist combo. Those years, those stages were fun, but they ended with dissatisfaction or the taste of spew. The mainstream don't want me, and the underground doesn't either. I don't see a contingent of folks with open arms happily chanting, "One of us, one of us, one of us," to me anytime soon. Through the looks, crowds, years, stages, I found myself in pieces, went from metalhead to punk to goth and anarchist combo. Now I'm nothing but a subcultural one. And that last poem was called Subculture for Barbara Mercer, Darren J. Beanie, and New Jersey poet Nick Paleologos. And that poem, those two poems happen to come from issue number 5 of the United Kingdom literary magazine called Flights of the Dragonfly, number 5. From this mic to your ears, I'm Dee Allen. Thanks for listening.
Dee Allen always brings the great work. Always good to hear your voice, Dee Allen. Thank you so much for starting us off on those deeply personal poems on that theme of refuge and for connecting the dots for us a little bit. I really appreciate the work, and I've heard you read that poem, the second poem before, and it is really powerful to hear it again. Well, next we go to Ron Bremner. Great to have you with us today on Cultivating Voices Live Poetry. And we'll follow Ron with Chopsy Gutowski, AKA Karen. God, I love that. Thank you.
Okay, I've got 3 fairly short poems for you today, all dealing with refuge. The first 2 are from my book, Hungry Words, about 2 places where I find refuge. At the abandoned junkyard on the west side of town, not far from Passaic General Hospital, near the forgotten Okanite factory, where rusty fences lay in wait for anyone who's lost the way, and faces of lonesome dogs search for something, anything. That's where you'll find me, looking for my future in someone else's past. And this is the second one, also from Hungry Words. I am most comfortable in graveyards. There is no pressure to impress, no call to spout witticisms, no maudlin cynicism to cut and share, no knowing looks to batter and bruise. Just me and friends who won't mind if I rest on their laurels. Sit here on the cold ground of autumn under steel gray skies with them. I can sympathize with their lives and listen to their stories. They won't shrink from my verse. They won't text while I read. They listen intently with respect and admiration. This is the best home I could have. These are the finest companions. I am most comfortable in graveyards. And number 3, I wrote specifically for this reading. It's called There's a Refuge in the Falling Rain. There's refuge in the falling rain. The skies open up and shed their sorrows upon the earth, where we down here can let ourselves be washed of our failings and failures, and somehow find the hope and resolve to try and try again. Thank you, everybody.
That's Ron Bremner. Thank you so much. And I always love it when someone uses the theme to be a prompt to encourage a new poem, and taking that risk and bringing that right to the show. So thank you so much. Great to hear your voice today, of course. Well, next we have, I love this. I'm gonna have to ask you at some point about the name, but right now, welcome, Chopsy.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to meet you all. I came because my friend Joanne Warbeck James invited me. Yay. So, and this was such a fun theme for me because I realize a lot of my poems are kind of semi-apocalyptic, dealing with climate change, dealing with, fascism. It's like, oh, refuge. I need to remember refuge. So it was fun to have that lens, and it kind of gave me a nice, like, almost like a, that shock they give to the heart to wake back up. It was awesome. So I realized I'm going to read a couple short poems that helped me realize how nature is such a refuge. This one is called Vow. The river painting continues, its gilt-edged leaves lit by advancing sun, water muted fracturing, where a leaf fall breaks the spell between above and below. Meanwhile, everything drips downward. A small bug flips the palette, circulating the mirror image of redolence. Songbirds echo compact twirling inside every leaf, insect, wing. The painting continues. Singularity of grasses, each committed to the whole. A rush of underbranches, boldness held within all that light. Sheer astonishment of cadence. Far off, blazoning golds. Close up, shimmering greens. Mirrored river spools into time's entrance. Do I take this now, forever, to have and to hold? I do. All right, this next poem is called Inside the Wings of a Dragonfly. The tree branches stir the sky while buzzing dragonflies entwine each other's arrows. The camellias sit high in plump congregations of unhurried time. Beneath the glistening sighs of sunstruck leaves, a raven higher up creams the top, elegantly leaving no trace. Together from miles and miles apart, we listen to one mockingbird's song, the part where the melody glistens, our lips part to hear it. If I could safeguard it here for you inside a secret box, then anytime you needed to know for sure this all exists, ever upward lilt of melodies, no matter how bereft of meadows, the dragonfly wings utterance. Who can lend deciphering to these shadows fireworks? In blue company, which quiet will heal itself into stillness beneath the moving shadows among the goldish stones.
I love that reading.
Thank you.
I'm so glad that Joanne invited you and encouraged you to come and join Cultivating Voices live poetry. And I encouraged word of mouth is how this took off, because initially it was just folks that I knew. We started out with 300 people from my Facebook page, and now it's over 3,500 people. And every week we get, if we're fortunate, we get to meet new poets like you, Chopsy Gutowski. Karen, thank you. I look forward to hearing more of your poetry with us on the theme or on the themes that are important to you. Great that you could find refuge in our theme today of refuge. A reminder, folks, that please leave the love in the chat for our readers today. And also, if you've got books or readings coming up and you want to let people know about them, feel free to put those things in the chat as well. If you have, if you are the curator of your own reading series, a number of you are here, feel free. Again, we want to share as much information with our membership as possible while we're here together today. All right, well, next, while my voice is still going, we will go to Giulio Magrini. Welcome, Giulio.
It's so beautiful to be here again. I have a book coming out this month now. It's called The Color of Dirt. Specifics on that will be made available to everybody as soon as my publisher gets off his ass. Anyway, this is this is called Christ Was Crucified Once. The rest of us were made to be recidivists. Perspiring fingers slide along beads. There is no resting place for the weary. A miraculous and continuing engorged tank of sorrow, draining the mystery of soul, assigns an amorphous vagary that holds grace and fuels your spirit to enlightenment. Advertised in elite journals by shrewd and consecrated mystics, contented, appeased, and evacuated. From baptism to extreme-unction, a travail of suffering and penance must be tallied by the most terrible and officious auditor in the sky. Greasy-haired interpreters direct their luminous teeth and thunderous voices, but not always loud. Celebrants chant in the background, Hymns are sung, and there is no doubt these voices are synchronized with rustling cassocks bursting within the sacristy. You enthusiastic and resolute ministers, benign and solicitous fathers, swift masters of the soft sail, despite what you have heard or seen in the neighborhood, on the thoroughfares where you live, not their screaming streets or their whispering streets from pulpits or television amphitheaters. We are their fertile ground of imperfection, the seeds of their ghastly farm. Do not cry. Our guilt is their greatest exploitation. We only need to remember as we walk through the carnivals, eating a hot sausage grilled by Mother Mary. Do not be discouraged about the failures on the ring toss for Jesus. The souls will not be disappointed with you, and the grateful tears at sermon's end will not pave your way to paradise. Your humanity is the key to their grift, and the recurrence of sin comprising our hearts are the winning numbers of our mortality. Gauge the satisfaction of your devout collaborators. They taught the pushers their game. Their perpetual currency is repetitive castigation. Love your flaws while you can. Thanks, Sandy. Take care of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Giulio. It's so Giulio Magrini. Giulio Magrini. Yay. Thank you so much for being
You're
with
welcome.
us, and congratulations on your new book. And I
Thank you.
hope that we will have you on a new book showcase in the future.
I would love that. Thank
Yeah,
you very
we
much.
would love that too. So we'll be sure to do that. So
Today.
thank you, everybody. We will move along to our next reader, Harvey Soss, followed by Rawle James.
Mute, okay, and see if I can actually find what I did with the poems. This must be it, okay. I have two. The first one is called Asylum Seeker. And just a couple of notes. It refers to the Golden Venture, which was a freighter which was utilized to carry human cargo from China to the United States and grounded just off the shores of New York City. Approximately 10% of the people who were on board, some 300, were permitted to remain here. And Sister Ping was the woman essentially behind the human trafficking. Asylum seeker. Leaving behind the pinched skin of his old life in Fujian province, the Golden Venture having run aground, he climbs out of the sea to be reborn. Drawn by the sirening of shorefront properties boasting laundry rooms the size of Central Fuzhou, peopled with round eyes reeking of bully pulpit attitude. Exhausted, he kisses the tide line where American dreams begin, pinups live, iconic Marilyn Monroes with their skirts billowing, wet sand sticking to his lips. Pledging to take this country as his unlawfully wedded bride. A false flag marriage arranged by Sister Ping snakeheads. America's blonde ambition having called to him when he couldn't swim anymore, urging him towards dueling vacancies of surfside hotels, each promising exponentially groovier amenities than the next. Before him lies a Best Western marquee welcoming the class of '93, Shriners from Tuscaloosa, its neon sign signaling in a language as yet unknown to him. Dog paddling in, it wasn't any online influencer who influenced him to risk his skin, to shed it as a turtle-headed snake might, or a frog that eats its own, as Maoist re-education does. His venture, a made-in-China criminal enterprise, fool's gold, with only a few sodden rice cakes remaining in his pockets, his English consisting of yes and no. One of a handful to have made it ashore. His welcoming committee not so welcoming as Rockaway's Best Western, tagging him illegal detainee. Fortune cookies having failed to warn him of the almost eternity to be spent fighting deportation, until reprieved he can stagger punch drunk into his new life. And the second one is in honor of my grandmother. Sad case of Helen's guitar. Certainly it wasn't a Gibson she took with her. That guitar some love-struck young pioneer might have whittled for her, placing it into her calloused peasant hands. A going-away present? I never learned where she got it from, or when, while she was still alive and fiercely independent. Or if anyone, a pioneer perfumed with Menschkeit, ever instructed her on how to play. I'm sure she wouldn't have recognized the shtetl of Fiddler on the Roof, England's Pinewood studio lot where the movie was filmed, being a far cry from her Dnieper, or understood staged banter where she had faced starvation. That wasn't her Ukraine, not her bowl of borscht. I expect she just plucked out chords discordantly awaiting passage to New York. It wasn't until her steamer had surged halfway across the Atlantic that her kerchiefed good looks were uncovered by a thieving boy chick named Semyon or Sam, a fellow passenger to America, who suggested he should hold her things for safekeeping. Doubtless he didn't boast the whip and hard boots of a Cossack, or present as the sort of fellow to steal a 15-year-old's guitar. Having already endured programmatic betrayal at the hands of classmates denounced as that dirty Jewess, as per your case, my grandmother Helen never complained, accepting this loss as she did all her losses of family, town, country, those few letters from Sam that found her in the Bronx, making no mention of returning her guitar and bearing no return address. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harvey Soss. Like, wow. You are joining us today, folks, on the theme of Refuge, our poet's focus for Cultivating Voices live poetry. And I always am amazed at the very prismatic way that we find refuge in the themes and the myriad ways that we get to massage and interpret the word. And yeah, great poems. Well, thank you so much, Harvey. And we next move to, I'm so glad that Spongo returned. I loved hearing your work last week, and I know I'm gonna love hearing your work this week. So take it away, and thank you for being a member of Cultivating Voices Live Poetry.
Hey Cindy, thank you very much. Thank you. I wrote something. I wrote this today. It doesn't have a title yet. I wrote it on theme. I hope you enjoy it. Sorry. It has a bit of strong language. So yeah, just be one. I've had enough of these imbeciles. They are pathetic, weak, and inferior. My tribe is superior. My tribe is the chosen one. Rightful rulers of this land. I draw the line here. Exterminate them all. Wipe them from the earth. Take back the land. Fertilize with the blood. Fertilize it with the blood of those imbeciles. You can start with the president. The cock signaled its final morning. It was Christmas. Cock soup was on the menu. I woke up happy. The prospect of a new day always made me happy. But the prospect of rice and chicken made me even more happier. Not forgetting the pancakes for breakfast. As per tradition, I rushed to the neighbor's compound to start my day. So the story began. The 6 a.m. news from Vandersteen radio was an important notice. The army had executed the president as part of their Eliminate Corruption and Empower the People campaign. Everyone was to stay at home until further notice. We were encouraged to observe peace during the cleansing. The army was hunting down corrupt citizens. 2 hours later, I watched in amusement the cock's fruitless.
Oh, oh no. Oh no. A little frozen. Oh no. Okay. Well, it's always difficult when we're in the middle
Shucks.
of
We
poem.
could come
Yep.
back and it,
We'll
if he
come
comes
back.
back, we could invite him to try again. I
My
have the next.
apology. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, thank you. Well, in my
Back.
delirium, I forgot. I mean, I didn't forget, but I skipped and I said Rawle James is next, and then I skipped and I looked at the list and I skipped. So Rawle James is next. And I'm so glad to see you today. It's nice to be with you, and I'm looking forward to your interpretation of the theme of refuge. And followed by Rawle will be Isaac Cohen.
Sandy, he's back. So I
Oh.
don't mind going after him.
Okay, let's go back. Let's
Yeah.
go back to
Yeah.
finish up. Thank you.
I want to hear his poem.
I know, yeah.
Sandy, it might be good to suggest to him to turn off his video when he's reading so that he stays on, because the video takes most of the bandwidth.
All right.
Okay. I'll try that.
Thank you.
Okay. So I'll start again. I've had enough of those imbeciles. They are pathetic, weak, and inferior. My tribe is superior. My tribe is a chosen tribe. Rightful rulers of this land. I draw the line here. Go and exterminate them all. Wipe them from the earth, take back the land, fertilize it with the blood of those imbeciles. You can start with the president. The cock signaled its final morning. It was Christmas. Cock soup was on the menu. I woke up happy. The prospect of a new day always made me happy. But the prospect of rice and chicken made me even more happier. Not forgetting the pancakes that were served for breakfast. As per tradition, I rushed to the neighbor's compound to start my day. So the story began. The 6 a.m. news from Vandersteen radio were an important notice. The army had executed the president as part of their Eliminate Corruption and Empower the People campaign. Everyone was to stay at home until further notice. We were encouraged to observe peace during the cleansing. The army was hunting down corrupt citizens. 2 hours later, I watched in amusement the cock's fruitless attempts at seducing a white hen. I marveled at how, after 3 ministers shot dead, their families turned ghosts. The cock's major concern was getting some action. About 15 people had gathered under the neighbor's mango tree. Vandersteen was one of the 3 people with a radio in the village. He bought it with the war hero stipend he received, but at that moment, that wasn't important. The important announcement said All males above 15 had to report to the nearest police station. Failure to do so was treated as treason. Fast forward 10 years later, I haven't been outside the house since November. I boxed the TV and put it in the attic. Christmas bells don't sound merry to me. This cold is torture. Oh, who the fuck am I kidding? This cold is nothing compared to what I lost. All 18 male family members shot, mass buried for a perceived difference fueled by envy and greed, fueled by years of history mistold to serve selfishness. We are not different. The way my tongue bends shouldn't be the reason I flee home. Where I was born shouldn't be the reason I fear home. I hate this cold, but I'll never trade it for home. My heart is here. Ain't nothing to look back for. Thank you.
Powerful work from our friend Congo.
Thank you.
Great. Thank
Thank you.
you very much for being with us, and no problem with the technical difficulties. Glad we could hear your voice today. Oh, some of those lines in that poem. Wow. Well, now we will go to Rawle James, and thank you for your patience with the process today. And following Rawle will be Isaac Cohen.
Thank you, Sandy, and all poets. Blessed day to you all. Hope you're having a blessed Sunday wherever you are. Fongo, good job, brother. I love your poetry. I love the power of your words. And it's so good to hear other voices from around the world, because we're all sharing the same kind of craziness right now. So thank you for that. I have one piece. I'm still not sure what I'm going to call it. I shared it with a friend yesterday, and she goes, you should call it Refuge, which fits the theme, but I'm still torn. Anyway, just one piece today. How dare you look to me for hope, was the cry of a young one before the nations. Is hope the refuge for troubled minds and heavy hearts, lost in a sea of politicized words that only inspires division? As well-tailored suits spin intentions of civil compliance, while the rhetoric of righteousness is used as a weapon for conformity. While many are asleep at the wheel caught in a hypnotic trance, they forsake their own common sense afforded by their own experiences. So what are we speaking of? The call to ban guns, defund the police, be soft on crime, as elected one's posture to void rights while guarded with guns? Yes, the Glock kills, but isn't it the finger on the trigger on trial? As serve and protect, now smeared, disrespected in a walk of shame. Yet 911 is a call when homes and businesses fall prey to outlaws. But the oath to protect falls short as the good cops protect bad apples. Freedom of information and body cams suppressed when needed the most, as the internal investigates itself to protect the badge that seems to be above the law. What are we speaking of? Colonization of European whiteness, the reason for all that ills? As the ghost of segregation and Jim Crow seems to be taking a curtain call. It appears that skin color has jumped the line with no regard for character, as pigmentation is the new currency in the fight for civil prosperity. The right to pursue happiness and liberty, a dream that does not seem to matter. That those whose phoenix rose out of the ashes now convince their kinship, the world of systemic racism will rage against their ascension to dignity. What are we speaking of? Are we not all people of color? Yet the voice of prejudice cries white privilege. The ritual of policing now on a safari hunting the prize and rare Black man, while in the hood, many Black lives killed by the hands that rock the cradle. Sticks and stones can break bones, Yes, words now used in this wave of an illusion. Ignorance may hurt feelings, but who's stopping your exodus to greatness? What are we speaking of as the court returned to the states the right to choose or the right to kill? Yet what grows in the wound is debated. Is it human or just a stew of cells? Impregnation by violation should always be addressed with empathy's choice. But my body, my choice hastens to judge as redemption shields their judgment. The Black population seems forever stuck in as it flounders for its own acceptance. Yet 20 million spirits returned unwrapped to the unknown since Roe versus Wade. What are we talking about? What am I talking about? Let this prose serve as an invitation with no violence against the truth. For there are three sides to truth, yours, mine, and the universe's. Life is beyond black or white and holds many shades of gray. The practice of pointing fingers and shouting matches only stifles conversation. For time is the great resolve for change that requires patience and heavy lifting. I stand under this sun shaking my head, for there is nothing new under its rays. Vision forward, but do not ignore the voices of the past that scream from exile. Otherwise, the path will continue to be paved with the intention of suffering. Too many have preconceived ideas and conclusions thinking they know best. Stop for a second and breathe. No, really, stop for a second and breathe to open up new prospects. It's okay to admit history cannot be undone as we mourn the past. And it's not an admission of surrender or giving up on the fight, but maybe it's an avenue to focus our love into a meaningful effort where hope becomes a verb for making things better for the living. I've drawn a line in the sand of perception that circles back to the mob. Let ye without sin be the Lord of the manor over the wretched sinners. I care not who is right or who is wrong, but that's the beauty of freedom. To democracy or not democracy, one will be adopted by those praised. The adventure continues as our legacy is written forward in the book of life. I am a citizen of humanity. I love humans, for they make up my humanity. Now, do I like you? Let's first start with a cup of black coffee and a chat. End of piece.
I'm gonna have to go back today and watch this reading all over again, over and over again. Wow, the pieces that y'all are bringing on the theme of refuge today. Appreciate the vulnerability and the power of the words. Thank you, Rawle James, for bringing that piece today to Cultivating Voices, live poetry. We will next move to Isaac Cohen, and Isaac will be followed. After Isaac, we will hear from Jennifer Wang.
Yeah. Thank
Welcome,
you,
Isaac.
Sandy. Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Don. All my friends in the world. Today, I read 2 poems. The first, to my niece, daughter, Ella Beaton. Isaac Cohen. Again with love. I read a book to my niece, daughter. When I finish reading, she begged me, again. I read once more and she asked, Again, I wish that when at my great old age, I read her a book, she will request again. And the second, this is the poem to my darling, Yannone Cohen Peltz. As a Cohen, my darling, you flew over my florid eyes like a humming bird. You sipped my nectar. Did you have your fill? You sip and move on like a muse fading me, a song piecemeal. Those goes on our story. We will laugh together for eternity. We will laugh together for eternity. Thank you, Cohen, Israel. Thank you.
There is refuge in song. There is refuge in song and in love. Thank you, Isaac Cohen. Beautiful. So glad you could be with us today for our Cultivating Voices live poetry.
Yeah.
Today is our Poets Focus on the theme of refuge. And we have been hearing an incredible kaleidoscope of poetry on that theme. Beautiful. We will move next to Jennifer Elise Wang. It's great to have Jennifer. It's great to have you with us today, and we'll be followed by Max Vandersteen.
Yeah, happy to join. I'm going to read one poem. This one I wrote when I learned basically my parents were selling my childhood home. And like I basically spent my formative years in there. And not only was it being sold, it was being demolished in place of a church. And like my dad's friends with the pastor and everything, but just the idea of losing a childhood home for good inspired this. So it's called The Place in Between. This was not where I was born, and this will not be where I die. This is the place in between, where I spent the years psychologists call pre-adolescence and adolescence, and writers write young adult and new adult. This is the liminal space in a hero's journey, to where I return and from where I step out. The garden grew as I did, maintained by mom and dad. The windows showed my present, leading to the future. The walls held up past triumphs and assisted in doling out punishment I gave myself for failing. The skylight told me to aim high, while the carpet promised to cushion my descent towards new lows. I still felt the seams on my knees. I learned to accept the pink trim on the walls, but the curtains had to go. I didn't fear the spiders or snakes, but dreaded rings of the phone and doorbell. My heart loved the trees, while my sinuses hated their seed. The pond promised adventure, mishaps, and a good scolding from mom. This is where I climbed, fell, and rode, laughed, cried, and raged, created, destroyed, and reminisced. This is where I wanted to die, yet found a reason to live. This is where I tried my best not to be a child, yet didn't feel ready to be an adult. Now I am grown, and it is time to move forward.
Thank you, Jennifer Wang. I so appreciate that, having just, within the past couple of years, having to think about the refuge that comes from that familial space, and my folks having sold that space. So I can really relate the second you started to speak. So thank you very much for coming and sharing on that theme of refuge today. Well,
Thank you for having
next
me.
we will move to, and until next time, we'll move to Max Vandersteen, and Max will be followed by Genda Cimino.
Thank you, Sandy, and thanks for the invite to read, Kim. I would like to share one poem today, but it is rather lengthy, probably take up to 5 minutes, but please bear with me. It is an account of an adventure, actually abandoning the refuge of home, another tale on that theme, about graduating from high school and hitting out on the road back in the 70s, and when hitchhiking was still a popular event, and hitchhiked from Calgary, Alberta to Vancouver to watch a Jethro Tull concert. And some of the adventures along the road, and discovering and learning for myself that the abandonment of trust and security is not necessarily as great as the appeal. Anyways, it's called The Harrowing Hitch to Jethro Tull. It's included in my second book called Fair Play. It was no contest. They would have to head west for sun and for fun and for just conquest, by thumb to come to a concerted destination. A little like rolling stones through the current unknowns, turning new turf and still unexplored zones, free of docility, fences, and brands. Eager to depart, they made their heady start, armed with peace and overreaching heart, hitching out on Trans-Canada Highway #1. The exit was swift as they got a quick lift, setting both their goals and souls spinning adrift, but destiny still held in another one's hands. Their mood was elated and expectations were inflated by the ease with which their journey initiated. With no doubt in goodwill or not off-traveled roads. The company did vary, both cooperative and contrary, and although all bonds were likely illusionary, charity was still champion of the day. As hitches grew sporadic, the journey became emblematic of solidarity through love and life romantic, presenting lacks and lessons in timeless episodes. The further they sallied through endless peaks and valleys, less often through the passage their spirits rallied, above the bias and hazards curtailing their way. Though in wisdom they lagged, of peace they sang and bragged, aligning not to politic nor alleging any flag, thusly amplified as urbanite and cultured foreigner. In a land overtly stratified, yet traversed further with each ride until they were deserted along the wayside, in the midst of their journey beside Shuswap Lake. With no pillow or bed, rolling out their bag instead, out of the ditch they saw their horizon ahead, always around the next and distant corner. The impetuous dream began to die as car after car passed them by, and the importunate trek unfolded to belie their tenet in love of all for goodness sake. Two radical teens, comrades in flared jeans, making best of the ungainly scenes and scarcely outracing an unlikely death. Through the rain, leaving behind the strain of verve and ever-quickened vein, enacting an anarchic repulse, they hawked the hound, Vancouver bound, to hear the abrupt apocalyptic sound of a repercussive locomotive breath. The remainder of the way driven in a rabid day to see but a feigned passion play staged for the puerile elemental impulse. Part 2. Leaving Calgary was the easy part, for the lads synced in spirit and primed whilst repelled by the checks and throttling threats, yet so opened in mind and restless of heart. With graduation and summer vacation too well timed, they chose the road to escape a future of regrets. To purge the road of hypnotic a priori and revel in lessons of boundless excursion, to believe in the day by living their life in it and escape the shuffling madness of the locomotive city. Claim their own ID and jumped from the station of their aversion. They chose their own road in life to begin it. To sow and to know brotherly love and reconcile the growth and strength of faultless substitutes. To learn right of life through making love and just choices with deliverance and consequence traveling in daily trial. Of establishment rejected, to seek alternate routes, they chose the road to express their rebel voices. Not to start away uneasy on their unfettered wings, they designed to dissolve the inimical school by witnessing an assemblage echoing their new way of discovering love and justice in honorable things, and show that they were not just their father's fool. They chose to hitch the road to Jethro Tull's passion play. Part 3. Transient like a thought, a dream or an era, a moving target like a passenger in transit, undesirable seeds blowing in the wind, or the leader of the crop. Transitory like a season, a reason, or migrations, congruency or passion, a fashion or deadline, youth and opportunity like changelings driven by time to adapt the natural crop. Transience like eye contact with the approaching driver on the road, vagabond in the alley, performer on the stage, or the encroaching driver's glance in a rear view mirror to the rider encumbered in the back seat, an enemy not yet a friend who cannot steer or say when to stop. Temporality like trust, a belief or relief, a prayer like transgressions in motion, unforgivable fugitives hiding in the plot, or weeds despoiling the crop. Part 4. Arriving the day of the performed passion play to alight unbidden in a role of the astray, though perhaps unseasoned, they remained yet undaunted. To retain their forbearance in seeking some consonance midst the city's soft shoe shuffle dance with fellows and protesters who shared their dream. Anxious to get it straight before it became too late for germination of their plot to celebrate, uprooting of heredity entrenched and unwanted, they made their way to Gastown, hippie haven of renown, where they aimed to let their hair down before silver clouds disappeared in the slipstream. There, feeling unwound, plowing the common ground, where faith in love and esteem should rebound, they quickly interned in events of vulnerability. Rather than conciliatory, they encountered a territory where men, mercy, and benevolence were but transitory, and the vulgar and gory instead were abundant. To redirect the vibe, they determined to imbibe, to enhance the fantasy. Still, they could only circumscribe with characters and charges within the inner city. So they could again manage courage to attain the unripened bounty of their altruistic campaign and avail in communion of ideals deemed relevant. The concert was a blast of fun and community at last, though the camaraderie dissipated much too fast to yield fruitful remembrance of the harmony. The spirit of peace was there throughout the musical affair, yet lyrical themes of the drama did not share, arrangements formed to prelude a new alignment, so as not to revoke nor question or provoke, thusly searing the lad's withering will to invoke natural fidelity in the full ambiguity of a subdued ambience which deceived to enhance the expectations for growth of love's renaissance in a new season of freedom and enlightenment. So tit for tat, after some of this, some of that, it wasn't reality. It wasn't really where it was at this time. It had grown quite plain, but a little more bizarre after coming all this far, that it's only giving makes you what you are, and in reception that we learn to bestow. The memoir of the road test it would then suggest was a return to their roots to reinvest, tilling ideal yields in fields that will abound again. Rolling the stone away, they will have this to say. They tell us we'll be home someday, when moved to stand aligned and as one to grow. Part 5. Cleansing Calgary was by far a tougher plow, a passage made in transit to seed the yield they needed. Though they broke new ground, rife with strife and hassles, and implanted an appropriated melioristic vow to be their own saviors, they thusly conceded the chosen road must bridge the moat and hopes of city castles. To cultivate the germs of their new conviction, whilst traversing regions overturned but still unknown, It became to grow more clear they contrived to ascertain that the common ground should bear no partition. To play the field and till the neoculture sown, the chosen road must run yet not totally against the grain. To resolve the ripening doubt of pilgrimage at the crossroads, was there need for a route if there's not a place to reach? From where and from whence we come, our roots are there allotted. Yet the intractable field left fallow, thus erodes. But once furrowed, the inveterate is fertilized to impeach. So as the chosen road, though uncharted, is somehow still pre-plotted. Sore thumbs screamed aloud the echoes of the passion play. Freedom of the open road, all but moot to the infidels, budding not and blighted by the decay of aimless flight, a decoy to wind up with wings dropping off one day, wondering aloud if the years would treat them well. They chose the road home to fulfill their growing plight. Thank you. Sorry about
Wow.
it's kind of long.
That was an epic journey. Jethro Tull. I can't even, I'm never going to think about Jethro Tull in the same way ever again. Thank you, Max Vandersteen.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
all
sharing.
listening.
Yeah. Appreciate that interpretation and offering on the theme of refuge. Well, we're down to our last two for the open mic. And next, and we may be moving to the waiting list.
We do not have a waiting list.
Oh,
Sandy.
so we are down to our last two.
It's
for
like a
today.
miraculous day of harmonious
Okay,
sign up.
I didn't see, and it was a harmonious sign up, and so we're going to move to our final two readers on this theme of refuge. And our second to last reader for today, Genda Cimino, followed by, to close us out for today, Billy Brown. Hi, Glenda.
Hi, you can hear me now, I hope. Hello, fellow poets. I'm going to read one poem about 50 years old about seeking refuge, and then another couple of short poems which are very spiritual, refuge within. Roots. If I could only find some small secluded place to plant myself and let my thoughts grow through me from my roots. Now my thoughts float weightless. They tangle in midair, bump the ceiling of my mind, and scatter down, rise up again, a futile exercise. Something is missing, some part of me unknown, not working. I am disconnected from myself, and in my heart, as everywhere, there is a blind spot. There is a road whose end I cannot see, a long road where the light follows a little too far behind and darkness falls too soon. There is a journey I do not understand, some terror I cannot escape by running, moving restless through the cities of the earth. I carry heavy inside me this deep emptiness. Roots would help. I cannot grow them by myself. Sometimes I throw myself on the soft summer grass and feel the whole earth rootless, spinning, spinning, spinning underneath. Okay, the second poem is called Eden, or really sort of our spiritual earth. Eden, very short poem. Our only home, nothing before, nothing after, no other place, no other state or time, nothing beyond nor nearer, heaven only is. And I guess the last one now is a poem I wrote in 1970, visiting a Sioux reservation, which I later learned that these are really Lakota peoples, that the Sioux is a name that was coined by their enemies, and it meant something like snake in the grass, the sound of a snake. So I think they called themselves Sioux then, but they now call themselves Lakota. So I've changed the poem to Lakota. Lakota vision. The Native Americans have been made curios in their own land. Their holy places are crowded with sightseeing buses. Yet on the Sioux Reservation, under a cloudless sky, young Willard Eagle Thunder looks toward the Black Hills and cries, "Look, can't you just see Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse galloping toward us?" Okay. That's enough, I think, from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda. It's so amazing to bring back work that fits a theme after so many years. I admire that of going to the mine of one's own poetry. That's I'm trying to do that with my own notebooks. This and it's an interesting journey. So we always think, oh, let's read the newest work, but sometimes there's refuge in the return to our previous musings. Thank you for modeling that today. Well, we're going to close out today's reading with Billy Brown. Welcome, Billy.
Thank you, Sandy, and thanks to everyone. I really enjoyed the reading today. I'm going to read two poems of very different tones. The first one comes from the inaugural issue of the Fixed and Free Poetry Quarterly that was published in March. And it's not one of my poems. It's a poem by Terry Dunbar, who's a retired biologist and educator, who his interests include travel, gardening, cooking, backpacking, mountain climbing, and volunteering with climate change and other organizations. This is a poem about the refuge that our schools should be, and perhaps the refuge that should be denied to those who disrespect that refuge. It's called 20 by Terry Dunbar. At age 6, 7, Halloween costumes, school friends, birthday parties, personalities and potentials seen and celebrated. Every species protects its young, but in Newtown, 20 children fell. We said then, surely something changes now. This can't go on, we cried. This is the straw, the watershed, we said. And with each offending year since then, I ask, I search, I don't find answers. Anger rises. My questions now more pointed, the direction more clear. Where is your gun? Why do you have it? Let me fine tune the crosshairs here. Yes, I'm talking to you, Mr. and Mrs. Toole of the NRA. The madman did not act alone. He acted for you. He did your bidding. He channeled your fears and your misunderstanding of the Second Amendment. Just where is your militia, your weekend camo? And if it is a thing, what paranoid rabbit hole have you fallen into? The madman, perhaps like you, felt that bullets can solve all problems, general and personal. You fear I come for your guns, and I and my like-minded snowflake friends. We do not come for your guns. We come for your cold and relentless heart. We come for your thoughts and prayers, more hollow with every formulaic repetition. We come for your ignorance of how our country looks to a world that does not know almost daily mass killings. So, as you watch the news and see the bloody fallen as someone else's clan and kin, we come for your unwillingness to connect the dots. And finally, we come for your refusal to trust the commons, our connected fate, bonds of mutual protection. So yes, if your precious handgun is emblem and badge of all above, then yes, Yes, indeed, we are coming for your guns. The second poem is a much happier one. It's one of my poems from the recent huge, voluminous fixed and free poetry anthology 2021, which was published last fall, in which several people here appear, including Sandy, for which I'm very grateful. This poem is called Miracles in My Window, and I'm looking out of my window now into our garden. And our garden is a wonderful refuge, mostly created by my sweetheart. And I have to say that for the first time yesterday, I met my second little granddaughter. Her name is Dusty Rainbow, and she's just a delight.
Oh no, what's going on?
Dusty Rainbow. So this is called Miracles in My Window, with thanks to Scott Wigerman, in whose workshop I started this poem. Miracles in my window. Apple leaves, hundreds of apples, small, glossy, green, lavender buds, soon to become lavender brownies, rosemary shrubs, exploding with aroma, tall sunflower stems, soon to burst with radiant suns, invisible wind in the far tree, in nearby fruitless mulberry, even the reflection of the fan above me, circling, circling, driven by miraculous electricity, fluttering white cabbage moths, two-story beehive. It's now actually three-story beehive, swarming with workers generously granting honey, tomato flowers, yellow, promising red globes of exquisite sweetness, which we are now harvesting, raspberries hidden by blue blossoms in stained glass art resting on windowsill, recently purchased bales of straw, spread, mulching, conserving precious water, dripping into growing beds. Hidden hands of my beloved create again and again and again our miraculous, abundant garden refuge. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Billy. I have to admit, I got a little choked up thinking about you seeing your granddaughter for the first time, and
so did I.
Oh, I can only imagine. Like
they were here from Los Angeles, and we haven't been to see them since before COVID started, and she was born 2 years ago, or 2 years ago, September.
So glad. I'm so glad to learn that miraculous event. Well, everyone, thank you one and all for your interpretations and offerings on the theme of refuge. I mean, you all just leaned into the theme and brought what an incredible array of interpretations on the theme. You really took to it. So when we choose these words, we can't know what will happen. And wow, today, did we ever learn and get to experience such an incredible range to think about the particulars of the notion of refuge. We heard at the top of the last hour from Dee Allen, Ron Bremner, Chopsy, Gutowski, Karen Gutt, Giulio Magrini, Harvey Soss, Rawle James, Fongo, Isaac Cohen, Jennifer Elise Wang, Max Vandersteen, Genda Cimino, and Billy Brown. Do you take a moment to unmute and show your appreciation for the refuge that these poets granted to us through their love, the love of listening to poetry as its own
Bravo.
refuge.
Thank you, bravo.
Bravo,
poet.
everyone.
Thank
Bravo.
you, everybody today.
Those that
Thank
were
you.
listening, thank you for being here. Thank you for holding
Wonderful.
space
What a
with us.
delight.
Incredible.
I just read this, I think it was Dahl that said this. The poetry is the refuge.
Yep,
Hang on.
poetry is the refuge.
Hang
Indeed.
on. Yep.
Absolutely. Well, my friends, you're listening to Cultivating Voices, live poetry, here today on where I am in Olympia, Washington, Sunday afternoon. And it has been quite a journey to experience these interpretations of refuge. I'm grateful for one and all of you joining us today, and I hope that you will join us again next week when my throat will be a little stronger, I hope, and my voice will be a little stronger. And we will be returning with an amazing new book showcase for you all next week, featuring the new books and poetry of Gary Lilly, Heidi Seaborn, and Rain Jehogan. I hope you will join us for this international reading. Rain actually is a salmon poet. I'm a very, very, I have in my heart, I love it when we get to feature a salmon poet. So I hope you will all tune back in with us to listen live here in Zoom next week for our new book showcase and support our members who have their new books out. And we will return the following week with our wild card open mic, where you are the features. You are the features, as you always are. It's been an experience today. It's been an experience, as it always is. And I'm forever grateful for the ability to interact with each and every one of you, wherever you are in the world, doing your very good work, So until next time, my friends, take very good care, take exceptional care of your beloveds, and keep writing your miraculous poems. So Sandy Yannone for Cultivating Voices Live Poetry, with thanks to Kim Ports Parsons and Don Krieger for the enduring support and the support of all of you. We wouldn't be possible without all of your voices. Take refuge in your voice and in your poems. Peace out, my friends.
Take care of your throat.